Hey everyone, it's Tanya from Hand Lettered and Loved. Welcome to part 2 of my Ultimate Bundle tutorial. Today we are going to be going over my signature lowercase alphabet. If you want to learn about the basics of brush lettering and all of the basic brush strokes, you can check out part 1 of this tutorial, and that is available on my YouTube channel. I just wanted to let you guys know that this tutorial was created to coincide with these brush lettering worksheets, so that if you have the worksheets, you can follow along. The worksheets are available in my Etsy shop, and I will link that in the description. So let's see, we're gonna get started. I am gonna go over a couple things first. Just get to the right page here. So this is the alphabet on page 5. So first things first, these worksheets were actually created with the Tombow Feud pen, and I can link that as well in the description. The one that I prefer is the softer tip, and the way that you know that is there's a little description here that says BS at the end, and the hard one will say BH. There's a really nice value pack on Amazon that comes with both of them, so you can try either one, and I can link that. So it's kind of a small brush tip, which is a lot better for beginners because it's a lot easier to control. The other one that I prefer actually over that one is this Pentel Touch brush pen. It's the same type of tip, but it comes in all different colors, which is really nice. And I just like the feel of this one a little bit better, and it also lasts a little bit longer. The ink lasts longer. So we're going to use this one for today. The other thing that I want to mention is I always suggest using tracing paper over top of the worksheets. That way you don't have to keep reprinting the worksheets, and it also makes for a super smooth writing surface, which is perfect for your brush pens because then you don't have to worry about fraying them. If you use regular printer paper or regular notebook paper even, you will start over time, pretty quickly actually, you'll start to fray the tips of your pens, and that is no fun. So let's get started here. Again, if you want to check out part 1, I talk about just more about the basics of brush lettering and the up and down strokes. So I'm not going to get into that too much in this video, but the whole idea is that all of your downstrokes are thick and all of your upstrokes are thin. So for the A, you'll see that for each letter, I break out each stroke of the letter to show you how each letter is created. So that's what this first area is here. And then you can kind of move on to these grayed out letters so that you can just keep practicing. So for the A, you're going to start off here with your upstrokes. You're going to come up and then you're going to press down for your downstroke. Come back up lightly for your upstroke. And I'm looking here and this is hard to see, so I'm going to switch to my pink pen. See if that's a little better. And then the second stroke here is a downstroke. So you're going to go thick down and thin up. So then when you bring the two together, you're going to come down thick, up light, pause for a second, come back and do your downstroke, and then up to light. For the B, it consists of 2 strokes as well. The first one is your lead-in stroke that's coming up, transition into your downstroke, which is thick, take a pause, and then come back for your second part. So it's all in the pressure of your pen, as I mentioned before. You're really kind of keeping your hand at a 45-degree angle the whole time. So light pressure, I'm going to start to transition right here, and I'm going to press down into my downstroke. Come back up for a light, heavy for down, and then light again for an up. And there is a piece of hair on my pen here, which is making it do that. Okay. For our C, it's just 1 stroke, so it's pretty easy. You're going to come up and then right into your downstroke, back up into your light stroke. The D, you're going to start here with your upstroke, transition to down thick, up thin. second part is first your upstroke, transition to thick, and back up to light. So we'll do a full one here. Stop there, take a pause, and then come back up here. There we go. The other thing that I want to make sure that I mention is that you go very slowly, and you see how slow I'm writing these. Don't be afraid to go even slower if you're just starting out. It's super important to just kind of take your time and really think about each stroke so that you're getting it right. So for the E, you're going to lead in with your light stroke into your heavy down, and then back up into your light. So these that are one stroke are probably going to be a little more difficult because you're not taking a break. But you'll get there after with more practice. So the F, you start with your lead in again, and you could stop there if you need to, and then kind of reposition up here, come back down, or you can do it all in one stroke. So this is how it would look for all in one stroke. There we go. And if you were going to be writing a word so that you have a letter after this, you would finish off with another lead-in stroke like this. So say we're going to do an A, you can stop there and then bring in your A. There you go. Don't forget to pause after each stroke. It's very important. That's what's going to help you get your letters consistent and not shaky. So for your G, you're going to start here with your upstroke, and you're going to come into your downstroke for thick, back up to light. And your second stroke is a thick downstroke with a little bit of a light at the end, little tail. So come down, pause. And I just want to mention this. So the G is made up of the two different strokes. And if you notice, the first stroke that we just did right here is the same exact stroke that we used for the A right here. That was the same one that we just did for the G. So that's why it's super important to really practice these basic brush strokes that come with the worksheets, because you're gonna, this is kind of what we just did here, except for it looks a little different, but it's the same idea. So that's why you're doing these basic brush strokes. That's what they're there for. They all make up the letters of the alphabet, which is why it's important to practice them first and really get a hold of them. So finish off the G with our little tail at the end. And then we have our H. So you're going to start with your lead-in stroke up and a down stroke, which is thick. The second part is another upstroke, down to an up. Again, I just keep finding these great opportunities to show you how important the brush strokes are. So this one that we just did right here is this stroke right here as part of this brush stroke. So that when you're doing these over and over, doing your drills and really like getting that muscle memory in your hand, it's going to help you then for when you're ready to tackle the alphabet and start doing letters. So to put this all together, take a pause, come back up, and do that last stroke. So let's move on to page 6. Actually, we're not going to move on to page 6. So page 6 is the same letters, but it just gives you free space on the line so that you can practice on your own. So we'll move on to page 7. And we'll start with the I. So the I is a lead-in stroke again. Take a pause. Back down and up again and dot your I. That one's pretty simple. The J again, whoops, we'll start here as a lead-in stroke. Your downstroke with a little bit of a tail, just kind of like we did the G. There you go. The K is also starts, most of these I start with lead-in stroke, so it's going to be very similar. So this one might be a little tricky because you're coming up and then quick press down. You can pause there and then come down and back up for this little tail at the end. So lead-in stroke. You're going to start to transition right about now, right as I'm rounding this curve here. I'm already thinking about starting to press down for my downstroke. So I'm starting to press really lightly and then I'm pressing all the way down as I come down. The best way that I can describe that, because I think the transition from thin to thick and also thick to thin is hard. The best way I can describe it is think about if you're driving your car and you're trying to come to a very gradual stop. What you're going to do is you're going to slowly press your foot down on the brake really gradually. So think about that when you're doing your thicks and thins. So the whole idea is that it's a gradual transition. So I'm really starting to think about it as I start to round this curve. So I'm coming up. I'm starting to already press a little bit right here, but I'm not pressing all the way. So if I pick my pen up, you can see that it's starting to get a little thicker, but it's not the thickest yet. And then finally, as I'm coming down, I'm all the way pressed to make it thick. Okay, the L, again, you have your lead in, which can come all the way up to this top line. And then your second one, you're going to round. I would do this in one stroke, but if you're starting out, I broke it up into two so that you can get a feel for it. But you're going to come down and then back up again. So if we did it in 2 strokes, just like I did there, you can come up and stop here and then push down and lightly again. When you do it that way, you're going to get a little bit, it's not going to be as smooth of a transition. So once you get more comfortable, try to do this one all in one stroke like this. So now if you can see, it's a little bit of a smoother transition up top there. The more you can do in one stroke in certain areas, the better off it's going to look because it'll be smoother. So for the M, this is just three humps, and you can take breaks in between these because you have a hard stop here. So that's something to mention. If you have a curve and a transition like this, what I mentioned before is the more that you do that in one fluid movement, the better off you're going to be because it's going to be a smoother transition. But when you have letters like this that have these 3 different strokes and you have a hard stop, it's totally okay to pick up your pen and take a break and a pause and then do the next stroke because you won't notice. It'll look essentially the same if I did this in one stroke versus 3 different strokes. So it's always better to do it in 3 different strokes because you're going to get the best result. So here's 3 different strokes. Stop. Stop. And there's your last one. And then if I did this all in one stroke, they pretty much look the same. This one might be a little bit smoother, but I wanted to show you the difference there. So the N is super similar, but it's only 2 humps. So you're going to come up and down. You could pause there and then back up and down and up one more time for the N. So the O seems simple when you look at it, but I've heard a lot of people say that this one's difficult, and I can see why, because you have the 2 different transitions within one letter. So you're starting here. You can either start right at the top and just come down right away and come back up, or you can start with your upstroke so that you kind of have time to transition into your down and then back up. So like I said, the reason this one's a tough one is because you have one transition up here that goes from thin to thick, and then you have another transition down here that goes from thick to thin. So I think that's what makes this one a little trickier to get. So the P, again, you start with your lead-in stroke, which is light, the downstroke, which is thick, and your second stroke here is, oops, this little, looks like a 2 almost. So to put it all together, you can pause there. You can also do this one in one stroke. You can just like draw back up through your downstroke until you get to the point here where you want to break out and do the rest of your letter. So let's move on to page 9. And we have our cue. You want to start with your upstroke, transition to your down, back into your up. That's your first stroke. Second stroke is a heavy, thick downstroke into a light. Your R is a thin up into the down. Okay, your S. T. Your U. V is pretty simple. It's just an underturn stroke. The W, similar, but just has 2 underturns. And then your X. So your light, heavy, light, and then you come back down with your cross through. Now technically, excuse me, you want to, all of your upstrokes are thin, so I just went down with this stroke, which technically is not correct. So if you were doing it the proper way, you would actually come up for this one. But it looks exactly the same, so I won't tell if you don't tell. So that is that, and that finishes off our alphabet. On page, oh, it doesn't, I'm sorry, what am I thinking? We still have, don't forget about Y and Z. Okay, so Y, let's go down here. Y actually looks similar to the first stroke for the X, but then you have your down stroke with the little tail. And then Z, squeeze it in here. You're going to start with an upstroke, transition to down. And then for the second part, you're going to come like this and back up. So when you put it together, looks like that. All right, now we are actually finished with the alphabet. So if you want to look at page 12, I included a couple different uplifting words here. So thankful and grateful and blessed, and even some phrases here too. So let us do, I'm going to take you through just a couple of these so that we can talk a little bit about connecting letters. So for thankful, and stroke just like we did for our T. Down like this, and this time we're going to bring our lead and stroke just like that. And so pretty much after each letter, you're going to have a lead and stroke. And the reason for that is that it sets you up with your spacing for the next letter. It helps you to keep consistent spacing between each letter. So you'll see how this works as we go through it. So your H, you'll start here and come down. Go right over top of the end of your lead and stroke. Back up. And there's our lead and stroke again that we left off at. You start your A here, and you're going to cover up the end of that lead and stroke again. And we're doing our A just like we did in our practice. Come back down, and there's your lead in. Don't forget to take your pauses like I'm doing here after each stroke, because it gives you time to kind of look at the word, see how things are balancing out, see how everything is looking, and prepare for your next stroke. Lead and stroke. And don't be afraid to go back and fix things. Like when I did my lead and stroke, I didn't do it long enough, so there was like a little gap there, and I just went back and fixed it. So there's thankful. And let's do one of these longer phrases. We'll do trust in yourself. Or how about we'll do love what you do. Okay. So our L. And this will come out just like that. That's your lead in. Now you don't always have to connect letters. I did not connect the V here because V's can get a little tricky. So I decided to leave it go and then go right into my E. You can connect the V to the E, and the way that would look would be like this. You can give it a little loop like that. Do it that way. Or you can simply just give it a little, like a normal connector like that. So there's 3 different ways to do it. And then we'll continue here. You'll see I'm doing all of my lead and strokes, which is helping me know where to put my next letter and help with my spacing. So again, I'm not connecting the Y, I'm just leaving it like that. So you just want to kind of eye up how close you want to start your O so that your spacing is consistent between your letters. There we go. So love what you do. So that's all I'm going to do on this page. And then the last page here, I did a couple. I have 2 different thank yous, 2 different Merry Christmas, and then I have a happy birthday. So the bigger ones, you can actually use a bigger brush pen for, or you can still use this if you want to. You'll just have to go back over it to make it thicker if you wanted it to look exactly the same. Because when you go down, when you use the full thickness of this pen, you're not going to get that same. So you can kind of just go back over it twice if you wanted to, like that. Or I will show you with a bigger pen. Let's see what I have laying around here. This is a Art Line Sticks, which is a lot bigger of a brush tip. And that will give you pretty much the exact thickness that you need for it to be consistent with the worksheet. And these bigger brush tips are nice, but I do find that they are harder for beginners because the bigger the brush tip, sometimes it's harder to control. These are actually really nice because the tip is a little firmer, so I think sometimes that makes it a little bit easier for beginners. It all depends. Everybody's very subjective. But I will say that Tombow Duals, which is what everybody seems to buy when they're starting out, are actually very difficult for beginners because the brush tip is very, very long, and it's really, really flexible, so it kind of makes it pretty hard to control, in my opinion, and from a lot of other people that I hear from. So I'll just show it to you while we're here. They also fray very easily if you use them on like regular printer paper or notebook paper. The tips do not hold up well at all. They have to be used on really soft or smooth paper. So this is the Tombow. It's a little bit thicker than the Art Line Sticks. You can see a little bit of a difference there. All right, and then I also just wanted to mention here, I included, so then after you do the alphabet like we just did, you'll see that I included, there's a page for each letter of drills. And drills just means that you have the same thing duplicated over and over so that you can kind of sit there and just keep drilling away and keep practicing, because that's how you're going to build up the muscle memory and get better at this. So you'll see there's a page, or you'll see there's a page for each letter. And then I also included a bunch of extra lined sheets for you to practice with as needed. So that pretty much does it. Like I said, check out the basic brush strokes if you have not seen that one yet. That is part 1, and you'll want to do that first. And then I also have an uppercase letters. I just released that recently, where it's the full uppercase alphabet. And there's 2 different styles. There's a basic style and a fancy style, and you'll see that as well on my YouTube channel. So don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will be adding more videos in the future. And if you are not part of my Facebook lettering group, I will link that below. It's a good place to be if you want to practice with other members. I do monthly lettering challenges where you get a word a day that you can practice, and it helps you kind of it helps motivate you because everyone else is doing it at the same time. And I usually give away a set of my worksheets or something else to one winner at the end of the month. So I will link that below as well. And I would love to see if you guys are practicing with these. Please tag me on Instagram or Facebook and show me what you're doing. I love to see that kind of stuff. Otherwise, that's it, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.